All righty, here we go. I'd rather you see what's going on, so let me widen that up a little bit for you. All right, there we go. I want to talk about today. This is our phase 7, and I want to just talk a little bit about how rewards can backfire. So let's just get going here. Mostly what you're going to see is the screen, and I know you still can see the side things, but that's okay. So, and we are already at week 7. I think this is pretty exciting in many ways. I've heard a lot of wonderful things from all of you. Some nice wins are coming along, some habits are being formed, and it's really exciting. I think now what we want to do is keep that momentum going. So let's get on to today's topic about how we want to be careful with using rewards and what we can also do instead of that. So imagine yourself a year from now. All right. How do you want to be? Let's just imagine. All right. What do you hope to feel and do by then? Do you want to learn something? Do you want to feel more in control? Now, I know that a lot of you are here because you had some concerns about your whole nutrition strategy. And so think of yourself in a year from now. How do you want to feel? And at what point do you want to be in this process? All right. Do you want to be a proactive thinker and learn how to respond with flexibility and creativity? Imagine like if you're traveling. All right. Do you want to show resilience against those things that happen inevitably to us? You know, things happen, life happens, but it doesn't mean we have to stop and go back to the drawing board every time, right? Do you want to be able to devise a well-reasoned plan of action for your own self-improvement? I would argue that the answer to all of these is probably yes, right? Well, that's exactly what rewards and punishments do not produce. So we have to be really careful with rewarding ourselves or dangling a carrot in front of our face. All right. So rewards and punishments do teach several things. So we're going to hop on to the next slide and see what they are. What you can expect from rewards and punishments, that the short term end matters more. Okay. Basically saying that the end justifies the means. This is not really a benefit. All right. And you'll see as we go later on in this talk what I mean by that. Rewards and punishments teach that performance is everything, and it doesn't matter how you get there, whether it's with cheating, shortcuts, or sloppy work. This reminds me of math class. Yes, good old math class, right? Where in a math problem, you only get 1 point for the answer, but there's another 7, 8, or 9, 10 points to be gotten for how you get there. So with reward and punishment methods, the reward is more important than the actual task. That's just like saying the answer is more important than how you got there. So, and if you've been around for the last 7 weeks, you know that we don't really talk about doing things that way. In fact, we are basically against that, and for good reason, which is what this talk is explaining. All right. Rewards and punishments teach that the approval of your coach or your group is contingent. It makes you care too much about what others think. You need to care about what's in your heart and what you know is right for you, even if you have a wild heart. And rewards and punishments teach that you can buy out a punishment, right? So you can maybe negotiate with yourself. And that's where you get into trouble, when you start negotiating with yourself. So I'm going to give you an example about a gym, not our gym, that used a burpee challenge. They instituted a burpee challenge for a nutrition plan that they were doing with their clients. And every time the client cheated, they had to do a certain number of burpees. And at the end of the month, they had to do all their burpees. So pretty soon what happened is people were estimating and figuring, and they were honest about it. They're like, okay, well, I really want these chicken wings, so I'm going to just go ahead and put myself down for however many burpees chicken wings are worth, and so on and so forth. We want to stay away from that kind of mentality, because in the long run, we are not going to make any progress. We're not going to learn anything, and we're not going to be resilient or creative thinkers who are flexible in times of changing conditions. All right. Rewards and punishments also teach that the task sucks. It teaches you to hate exercise, to hate food prep, and to hate being hungry between meals. And if it didn't suck, then why would we need rewards in the first place? So this is what we're trying to avoid. All right. These things are not rotten. We actually enjoy these things. And I've heard several of you already share how you enjoy your meal prep and you enjoy knowing that these things are automated and that it's easy. All right. But rewards and punishments, let's move on. They teach us that mistakes and imperfections are shameful and that they must be avoided. And we teach that mistakes and imperfections are lessons, and there's something to learn to what happened to us leading up to that point. Do you see the difference here? Rewards and punishment also teach that one must only work for the reward. Otherwise, there's nothing to work for, and then go no further. This is like when people lose weight just to go to a wedding or a high school reunion. And then after that, they have no incentive and the behavior goes away because the reward went away. The reward to them was feeling good on that day in that condition, right? Rewards and punishments teach us that the reward is the point, not learning the skill. All right, the whole point of this course is for you to learn skills and to be part of a community where you know that a community has your back, and you're learning skills along the way, and you're sharing the skills that you learn and supporting others in the group. All right. Rewards also teach you that you're not responsible for your progress or your life because someone else is handing out the reward. This is not the way we want to go about our life, right? We're not in search of an eternal person dictating what we're going to do. We are a lot smarter than that, and we're here to get tools, all right, not be bossed around. All right, so this is your brain on rewards. I guess I didn't tell you the rest of that because it's going on the next slide. So we're just going to move right on. All right. Rewards activate the same centers in your brain as a chemical high. They're similar to illicit drugs or sugar, and they can be addictive. All right. They limit the breadth and depth of your thoughts. They screw up how you think. They actually don't let you think. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about thinking later on. And thinking is a good thing, but we also are automating our behavior in some ways, like with our regular meals and what we like to have at each meal as far as type of food, so that we don't have too many choices. But getting back to this, all right, these rewards can ruin our short-term decision-making. Example, people who trample over others at a Black Friday sale. They just want the reward, which is, the TV at 80% off. Get it? All right, so we are really not going to do that here. We're learning how to think just enough. So we want to think so that we can be flexible and make creative decisions when our environment goes awry. But we also have our habits automated for our meals. And we know, our protein at breakfast is a couple of different choices. We always do this. We don't give ourselves too many choices so it doesn't get too hard. But I'm getting off topic here, so let's move on. All right. Pain avoidance. That's also part of reward. That also comes with some consequences. Now, I know I talked about in phase 6 about getting a little angry, such as like maybe having to pay a fee to a charity that you hate, or something like maybe your opposite political party, but that's a little bit different. All right. But true pain avoidance activates the brain's fear center and interferes with learning and complex thinking. So even though we talked about that in phase 6, I want you to take it all into context. All right. I don't want you to take that so verbatim that you're just terribly scared into doing things, because that's not going to work long term either. All right. Because it interferes again with our learning and our complex thinking. All right. Fear is paralyzing. It does not allow us to slow up and think through a complicated problem. And basically what we're learning in this course is how to be problem solvers. We're learning to solve problems like how we deal in different situations. And I know some of you have had that put to the test already, because if you've had to travel unexpectedly or to places where you're not exactly in control. It's not like having your refrigerator at hand and being in your own kitchen. And you've done very well with it. And this is what we're talking about, learning to have the tools to do this. So one example is meal planning. We can either fight, run, or freeze up, and we'll always choose the path of least resistance. So when we get to that stressful point in our life, we might choose that path of least resistance. And that path is the old bad habits. Those are the comfortable things that have soothed us in the past, until, of course, they lead to guilt down the line. So we don't want to fight meal planning. We don't want to run away from it, but we also don't want to freeze up. But if we have a strategy and plan that's automated, we can get through it. So that's what I'm talking about. All right, let's move on. So we're just talking about not overusing rewards and punishments because they inhibit our ability to troubleshoot and problem solve. I'm just repeating that. And they keep us in the bad habit loops because we get paralyzed. We have fear of punishment. Or sometimes we're so paralyzed that we've gone past the point of no return and we go, just give us the punishment and we'll just deal with the consequences, like the burpees, right? Or a lot of people are like, I'm going to eat the chicken wings and then tomorrow I'm going to have to run 2 miles on the treadmill extra. We want to avoid that kind of behavior. All right. We're not going to resort to that. That's desperation. And that's not using the skills that you have. All right. Carrot and stick. So I want you to look at this quote. Before these words ever came to be used as generic representations of bribes and threats, what actually stood between them was a jackass. And this is a quote by Ali Khan in her book, Punished by, actually, I don't know if Ali is a guy or a girl, but Punished by Rewards. So, and if that's something you're interested in, you can jot that down. I am going to make sure that you get these slides, so don't worry. Let's talk about what we can do, all right, instead of living by rewards and punishments or living by carrot and stick, all right? Relationships will always trump rewards, and rewards will always kill relationships. So we have a relationship with everyone in this group, and we have a relationship with ourselves, and this is what we're trying to nurture. You cannot beat or cajole yourself or others to change. And a poor coach will try to do that. Will try to cajole you or even guilt you into changing. All right. You have to be ready to change. So those of you who are here are ready to change, and that's why you're here. All right. You want to guide yourself into change by building a strong, compassionate, accepting relationship, both with yourself and with the others in your tribe. For example, this group or your family. All right. You want to make it safe to push your boundaries and feel accepted. There we go. And you want to be part of something bigger than yourself. All right. This activates your creativity, your problem solving, your learning, your memory, and reasoning. All right. These are the cognitive skills we need to transform our body and our behaviors long term and to stay on this path in the direction that we want to keep going. All right. We want to build strong relationships that are not centered on the carrot and the stick concept. And mostly this relationship is with ourselves, but it's also with our healthy community. Okay. You guys with me so far? Let's scoot on. Tip number 2, we need to recognize and celebrate growth. All right. We want to make a rewards value be based on whether it's the result of lasting change, like the kind of change that persists in the absence of a reward, which that sounds kind of like a loop, right? But just think about it for a minute. We're looking for long-term improvement, right? Not a short-term fix. So we can go back. So before, if you're desperate to see that lower number on the scale, and you've heard people say this, I've heard this a gazillion times. I wish I could just get the flu and then I'll weigh less. Excuse me, WTF? Why would you want to get the flu and run all the risks associated with that just to get a smaller number on the scale? That's where the only reward you can think of is that little number on the scale when there's so much more to it, right? Example of the best reward, let's go this way. One that is random and that recognizes and celebrates growth. You recognize it after you've already done something, all right? Like enjoying the feeling of actual mild hunger and not fearing it, because for so long when you're in this FOMO, in this feeling of like, oh my God, I don't want to be hungry. I don't know what's going to happen. You're not going to die. Like we are not in a state where we're going to die of hunger. All right. We will never get to that point. But becoming mildly hungry can be scary for a lot of us at the beginning. But when we get to that point, and I always know that I'm in my zone when I'm actually happy about going to bed slightly hungry and waking up slightly hungry and being hungry before each meal, you know, instead of finishing a meal and going into the pantry and seeing what else I could have. So it's like having that light bulb moment when you get it, right? When you get it and your desired behaviors are becoming habitual. That's a reward in and of itself. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm so into getting like maybe 2 or 3 breakfasts ready. I kind of measure out my protein and what I want to put in it. And I kind of measure out my frozen fruit. And then it's ready. And then in the morning, I just go dump with the almond milk. Boom, done. Here we go. That's a reward in and of itself because you have that behavior automated. All right. This is a great time to recognize and salute and applaud your hard work and be thankful. Be thankful that you've learned these things, right? And that you want to keep them going. All right, let's apply this. Let's remember this. Basic rewards and harsh punishments don't work. They impair our thinking, our learning, and our problem solving abilities. All right. Remember that relationships trump rewards. So your relationship with how you go about this, how am I doing this? It's actually these habits are relationships. All right. How you do your food prep, how you run into Wegmans and buy 4 or 5 salads if that's what works for you. All right. And we want to recognize growth rather than actual reward. So that is the reward. Looking back and saying, oh my goodness, over these last 7 weeks, I ate breakfast, 99% of the time. I, didn't skip lunch when I got too busy. I stopped, had my small lunch or whatever lunch was right for me, and then I moved on. All right. Using the now that phrase instead of the if then phrase. All right. Now that you have meals planned, now that you have practiced meal planning for 5 weeks, you don't feel stressed about what to eat and you don't give in to foods that are not in your circle of love. I love this, our circle of love. What that is. Let's do this. There, 4 or 5 weeks. So I love thinking about like our zone as our circle of love. Like we're all in the circle of love right now with our habits that are becoming automated. I don't know. I just love that. I hope you do too. I hope you're getting it. All right. So let's conclude this really quickly. Use methods of motivation that make you and your group here more responsible. They make you troubleshoot and think and problem solve, right? If you want to read about this more, you can read the book Punished by Rewards, The Trouble with Gold Stars, Incentive Plans as Praise, and Other Bribes. And again, that's Alfie Cohn. I think before I wrote Allie, but it's actually Alfie. Actually, now I don't know which it is, but I saw the book on Amazon. It's there. It's either Alfie or Allie. Now I'm confused. Anyways, if you have any questions, let's bring it up in the group during our chats. Or let's bring it up on our group text. Okay, awesome. Done.